Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel Bandy's Books, and today I am here to do my favorite video of the month, and that is my book of the month prediction video. We're going to be talking about September 2024. There are a ton of books releasing in September, some of them by well-known authors, but lots of books by authors that I'm not that familiar with. So it's going to be very exciting to see what book of the month picks up. So I just want to mention, because this video brings in a ton of new viewers, this is my dog Luna. As you can see, she's very cute. She likes to hang out in the living room while I am in here recording my videos, and honestly we live in a small apartment, so there's not really anywhere else for her to go. She does snore, so sometimes you may hear snoring in the background, and that's just her. Don't worry, I don't have like a person sleeping behind the camera or anything like that. But yeah, you may hear, as you can hear right now, she grumbles a little bit. So anyways, like I was saying, there are a ton of books releasing in September, lots of books that look very promising, very exciting, tons of things that I'm very excited to talk to you about. So real quick, before we jump into those book predictions, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button if you're excited to hear my thoughts, and maybe comment down below and let me know what books you're excited to see in September. So as always, we're going to start out with the historical fiction genre. I have 3 selections this month. First up, I have The Shadow Key by Susan Stokes-Chapman. This currently has a 4.13 and 500 ratings on Goodreads so far. Marionid, 1783. Henry Talbot has been let go from his prestigious job as a doctor at a London hospital. It leaves him with only the opportunity to work as a physician in a remote Welsh village at a hospital where the locals are both superstitious and suspicious. After finding out that his predecessor died under mysterious circumstances, Henry is determined to figure out what happened. Lynette Tressilian, mistress of Plas Held, lives a lonely life with a mother who's haunted by demons and a cousin who treats her with cool indifference. She has always suspected that something isn't right in the village, but only with Henry's investigation does the truth come out about those who are closest to her. I've selected this book for book of the month because this is getting really good feedback so far. It has a 4.13 with 500 ratings. That is a really solid rating ratio. This sounds really interesting as well. I love that we have 2 different POVs and that this is going to be set in the Welsh countryside. I can't say that I've read too many books set in Wales, and so I'm very excited to visit through this book. Option number 2 is Songs for the Broken Heart by Ayelet Tsabari. This currently has a 4.14 and 57 ratings on Goodreads so far. 1950s, thousands of Yemeni Jews have immigrated to the newly formed Israel. In an overcrowded immigrant camp in Rosh Hayam, a shy young man happens upon Saida. In the midst of chaos, they fall in love, but Saida is married with a child, so their love is forbidden. 1995, 30-something Zohara, Saida's daughter, lives in New York City. It's a city much less complicated than the one that she grew up in, where she wished that her skin was always lighter. Her illiterate mother's Yemeni music was quieter, and the father who always favored her was still alive. She left home and hasn't looked back, rarely speaking to her mother and her sister Lizzie. But when Lizzie calls to say that her mother has died, Zohara jumps on a plane home and finds herself on a path to learn a shocking truth about her family. I've selected this book for book of the month because so much about this book screams book of the month to me. Aesthetically, it matches what book of the month likes to do. The cover of it is very similar to this book right here, which was recently featured by book of the month. I love that this is focused on Yemeni characters. I feel like this is an area of the world that doesn't get as much attention in literature, and so I'm really excited about that element of it. And I feel like book of the month really enjoys these multi-generational family sagas where you have like a child or a grandchild learning about the generations past. So I think that all of that really fits with the type of books that book of the month likes to feature. And then I have The Mesmerist by Carolyn Woods. This currently has a 4.53 and 43 ratings on Goodreads so far. 1894, Minneapolis. In the wake of a financial crisis, spiritualism is all the rage and women are dying under mysterious circumstances. When Faith lands at the Bethany Home for Unwed Mothers, mute and refusing to answer any questions, the stories of unexplained deaths seem unconnected. Soon, rumors of dark magic circle around Faith. The treasurer of Bethany House reaches out to Faith's roommate and asks her to trace Faith's footsteps to the home. Soon, Abby finds herself reevaluating those around her and the murders. I've selected this book for book of the month because this sounds like a fantastic read. I love the era in which this is set. I feel like it's one that doesn't get explored all that often in historical fiction. I also think the homes for unwed mothers is an interesting topic for a read, and I love that there is this murder mystery element to it. This sounds like this could be a great selection for book of the month. Next up, we're going to talk about the thriller, horror, and mystery section of this video. I have 4 selections this month. First up, I have An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. This currently has a 4.02 and 103 ratings on Goodreads so far. Lennon Carter's life is falling apart. Then she gets a mysterious phone phone call inviting her to take the exam for Drayton College. It's a school of magic that's hidden in Savannah. Lennon has been chosen because, like everyone else at the school, she has an innate gift for persuasion. After passing the test, Lennon begins to learn how to master her devastating and unsettling power. She's captivated by her studies, but even more captivated by her charismatic advisor, Dante. He intimidates and enthralls her. As she continues her study, she finds the tragic past of Drayton College and how it intertwines with her advisor. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Alexis Henderson is a pretty well-loved horror author, and her previous book, The Year of the Witching, did really well. I don't know that this is the most likely pick for Book of the Month, but it is one that I would certainly love to see. I really enjoy Henderson's writing. I think she does a great job of creating like that gothic, creepy horror. This particular book seems like it might even have some dark academia vibes, which I know is really popular, especially in the fall. I think that this could be a smart pick for Book of the Month. Then we have The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. This currently has a 3.75 and 660 ratings on Goodreads so far. Liam Noon was many things to many people. To the public, he was an exacting, self-made hotel magnate fleeing from his past. To his 3 ex-wives, he was a loving, albeit distant family man who kept his finances flush and his families carefully separated. To Nora, he was a father who often loved her from afar, notably a California cliffside cottage from which he fell to his death. The authorities rule the death accidental, but Nora and her estranged brother Sam have different ideas. As Nora and Sam form an uneasy alliance to unravel the mystery, they start putting together the pieces of their father's past and unravel a family secret that could change everything. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Laura Dave was previously featured for her book, The Last Thing He Told Me. I think that this was a relatively successful thriller feature, and generally, this is the type of domestic thriller that Book of the Month really likes to select for their boxes. This isn't the book that I'm personally most excited about, but it is one that I think is highly likely will show up at least as an add-on. Book number 3 in the horror thriller category is Dearest by Jacquie Walters. This currently has a 4.32 and 75 ratings on Goodreads so far. Flora, a new mom to baby girl Iris, is navigating motherhood solo as her husband is deployed. As the sleepless nights pass in the lonely, empty home, reality begins to blur. Just when Flora thinks that she's losing her mind, her estranged mother, who she hasn't spoken to in years, shows up at her front door. As strange, scary events unfold, Flora begins to suspect that her house is not as empty as she once thought it was. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this is a debut fiction novel and it's getting really good feedback so far. A 4.32 rating is fantastic. And while the summary of it isn't the most unique summary ever, based on the reviews, it sounds like it's going to be a really good read. I'm really curious to see how the author is going to spin this really common trope. And then I have Where They Last Saw Her by Marcie Rendon. This currently has a 4.03 and 69 ratings on Goodreads so far. All they heard was her scream. Quill has lived on the Red Pine Reservation in Minnesota her whole life. She knows what happens to people who look like her. Just a girl when Jimmy Skye jumped off a railway bridge and she ran to go get help. Quill realizes that she's never stopped running. As she trains for the Boston Marathon early one morning, out in the woods, she hears a scream. When she investigates, she finds tire tracks and a lone beaded earring. When she realizes that another woman has been stolen, she feels determined to do something. Her first stop is the group of men working the pipeline construction just north of her home. As Quill closes in on the truth behind the missing woman in the woods, someone else disappears. In her quest to find justice for the women of the reservation, she's confronted with the hard truths of their home and the people purported to serve them. I selected this book for Book of the Month because it sounds like it could be a really good thriller. I love that this is set on the Red Pine Reservation, and I'm curious to see how local politics is going to play into this missing woman's case. This is getting really good feedback so far, and I would think that this would be a very smart pick for Book of the Month. Next up, we're going to jump into the romance genre. I have 2 selections this month. First up, I have Sunshine and Spice by Aurora Palit. This currently has a 4.19 and 31 ratings on Goodreads so far. Naomi Kelly will do anything to make her brand new consulting business a success. When she lands a career-saving contract to save the Mukherjee family's failing bazaar, she knows there can be no mistakes. But as the oops baby of a free-spirited Bengali mother, Naomi's lack of connection to her roots is everything that Jia Mukherjee disdains. Enter Dev Mukherjee. Dev knows everything his mother wants, including her wish for him to get married, like yesterday. When Jia hires a matchmaker, Dev decides to do everything it takes to avoid ending up in a cold, loveless marriage. When a potential match assumes that Naomi is his girlfriend, the solution to both of their problems becomes clear. Naomi will pretend to date Dev in order to sabotage his mother's marriage plans, in exchange for lessons in Bengali culture. Flawless plan, right? I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this is is a debut romance novel, and I feel like Book of the Month typically features the same old romance authors over and over again. So I'd love to see a fresh face in this particular genre. This book is also aesthetically very similar to some of Book of the Month's previous romance picks, and I feel like the summary of this book fits with other books that they've picked in the past as well. I could see this being a really good feature for Book of the Month. After that, I have How to Hide in Plain Sight by Emma Noyes. This currently has a 4.25 and 65 ratings on Goodreads so far. On the day that she arrives in Canada for her brother's wedding, Elliot Beck hasn't seen her family in 3 years. There's a reason that she fled to Manhattan and buried herself in work. She's not ready to share it with anyone yet. She thinks that she's prepared for the 4-day-long wedding extravaganza. That is, until she sees her best friend Manuel, the person who feels like the other half of her soul. Manuel's presence at the wedding threatens to undo the walls that Elliot has built around herself, the fortress that keeps her okay. If she isn't careful, by the end of this wedding, the whole castle might come crumbling down. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because while this fits within the romance genre, and I think romance is like the main plot point of the story, there is also the relationship with the family, the fleeing to New York City, the avoiding the going home, and I think that this might just go a little bit deeper than the typical romance. This is something that I think could be a really successful pick for Book of the Month. Next up, we have the literary and contemporary fiction genres. I have got 4 selections this month. First up, we're talking about one of the biggest releases in September, and that is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. This currently has a 4.31 and 458 ratings on Goodreads so far. Brothers Peter and Ivan Kubek seem to have very little in common. Peter is a successful Dublin lawyer in his mid-30s who, after his father's death, is struggling to medicate himself and dealing with complex relationships with a variety of women. Ivan is 22 and a competitive chess player. He's always been socially awkward, a loner, the opposite of his brother. Now, as he grieves, he meets Margaret, an older woman with a turbulent past, and the two of them become intensely intertwined. For two grieving brothers and the people they love, this is a new interlude, a period of desire, despair, and possibility. A chance to find out how much one life might hold without breaking. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Sally Rooney is an insanely popular author. Her books are so hyped. People seem to just really love her writing. This sounds like it could be an emotionally complex book that focuses in on grief and how each person grieves differently. This is a topic that I think Book of the Month might enjoy exploring. I could see this being a really smart pick for Book of the Month. Then we have The Borrowed Life of Fredrick Fife by Anna Johnston. This currently has a 4.55 and 249 ratings on Goodreads so far. Fredrick Fife was born with an extra helping of kindness in his heart. If he borrowed your car, he'd return it washed with a full tank of gas. The problem is that at 82, there's no one left in Fred's life to borrow from. He's desperately lonely, broke, and on the brink of homelessness. But Fred's luck changes when, in a bizarre case of mistaken identity, he takes the place of grumpy Bernard Greer at the local nursing home. Now he has warm meals in his belly and a roof over his head, as long as his poker face stays in better shape than his prostate. Denise Sims is stuck breathing the same disappointing air again and again. A mom and a middle-aged caregiver at Bernard's facility, her crumbling marriage and daughter's health concerns are suffocating the joy out of her life. Wounded by her two-faced husband, she vows to never let a man deceive her again. As Fred walks in Bernard's shoes, he leaves a trail of kindness behind him, and this fuels Denise's suspicions about his true identity. When unexpected truths are revealed, Fred and Denise rediscover their sense of purpose and learn how to return a broken life to mint condition. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this is getting rave reviews. There is a ton of positive hype about this book. It has a 4.55 and almost 250 ratings. That is really, really solid. This sounds like it could be one of those cute, cozy books that's like just really heartwarming. I'm thinking like House in the Cerulean Sea, A Man Called Uva. Just is giving me those vibes, and I feel like that is something that is super successful when Book of the Month features it. I could see this being a main pick. After that, we have The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. This currently has a 3.90 and 273 ratings on Goodreads so far. When retired math teacher Grace Winters is left a long abandoned house on a Mediterranean island, curiosity gets the best of her. She arrives in Ibiza with a one-way ticket, no guidebook, and no plans. Among the rugged hills and golden beaches, Grace searches for answers about her friend's life and how it ended. What she uncovers is stranger than she could have dreamed. But to dive into this impossible truth, Grace must first come to terms with her past. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Matt Haig would be a repeat author. He was previously featured for the Midnight Library, which was a very successful feature for Book of the Month. While I haven't heard as much buzz about this book, I could see this being an add-on at least. Matt Haig is a really well-known and popular author, and I think it would be a popular choice. And my fourth selection for this genre is Once More from the Top by Emily Layden. This currently has a 3.95 and 80 reviews on Goodreads so far. Everyone in America knows Dylan Reed, or at least has heard her music. She's spent 15 years growing up in the public eye, perfecting both her lyrics and her public persona. But she keeps part of her origin story hidden. Her childhood best friend Kelsey vanished just a year before Dylan became famous. Now at the height of her career, Kelsey's body has been found, forcing Dylan to reckon with their shared past, her friend's influence on her music, and whether there's more to the story than meets the eye. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this seems like the type of book that could do really well. First of all, it's kind of giving me Daisy Jones and the Six vibes because it is going to be focusing in on a famous musician. But I like how there's this added element of a friend who disappeared and how it's going to impact her career. I think maybe even a little bit of a mystery element. This sounds like it could be a really interesting selection to me. Next up, we're going to talk about the fantasy and science fiction category. I've got 3 selections this month. My first selection is Vilest Things by Chloe Gong. This currently has a 4.49 and 89 ratings on Goodreads so far. Despite the odds, she has won San Air's Bloody Games and eliminated King Kasa, her tyrant uncle and former ruler of Talon. She serves now as the royal advisor to King Kasa's son, August Shenzi, who has risen to the throne. Only Kala knows it isn't really August. Anton Makusa is still furious about Kala's betrayal in the final round of the games. In an impossible feat, he took over August's body to survive, and he has no intention of giving up his newfound power. But when his first love, the beautiful, explosive Ada Avia, awakens from a year-long coma and reveals a secret that threatens the monarchy's authority over Talon, chaos erupts. As tensions come to a boiling point, Kala and Anton must set their conflicts aside and head to the kingdom's far reaches to prevent anarchy. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Chloe Gong is a repeat author, and I'm pretty sure that Book of the Month has featured literally everything that she's ever written. She seems to do really well when she's selected, and in this particular duology or series, the first book was already featured, so it makes sense that the second one would be too. This is one of those picks that I would be shocked if it didn't show up. After that, I have The Witch of Colchis by Rosie Hewlett. This currently has a 4.23 and just under 2,000 ratings on Goodreads so far. A disgraced daughter, a fearsome witch, a woman more myth than mortal. Medea, Princess of Colchis, longs for a different life. Since childhood, she has been shunned by her family, tormented by her people, and treated with shame. It's all because of her unique and dangerous talent for witchcraft. But when a dashing young hero named Jason arrives to attain the Golden Fleece, Medea sees her opportunity to escape. Her offer to help Jason sets in motion a journey that will test every ounce of strength, magic, and loyalty that she has. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Greek mythology seems to do really well whenever Book of the Month features it. Now, I know that they just picked Hera last month by Jennifer Saint, so it's unlikely that they'll feature Greek mythology 2 months in a row, but hey, a girl could dream. In particular, this one sounds really good. I love that it's going to dive into Medea. I think she's a very interesting and complex character, and this one has really good reviews. 4.23 with 2,000 ratings so far. I feel like this would be a really smart pick for Book of the Month. And the last selection for this category is We Need No Wings by Davila, Cardinal. This currently has a 3.89 and 37 ratings on Goodreads so far. Teresa Sanchez has always known who she is: a professor, a wife, a mother, and a friend. But when her husband dies unexpectedly, she finds herself completely broken. Taking a leave from the university, Teresa hopes that she can mourn her husband and get back on her feet. But instead, she spends a year consumed by grief. That is, until the day that she levitates. Suddenly, Teresa's life is thrown into disarray. The repeated incidents of levitation not only make her question her sanity, but they also put her in danger. She decides that she'll do anything to stop. So when she's reminded that her family is related to the renowned levitating mystic, Saint Teresa of Avila, she leaves her home and travels to Spain. It's here she hopes to find answers. But saints can be elusive and not all answers are easily found. Teresa will soon have to decide whether to remain shrouded in grief or to open her heart to a world where you need no wings to fly. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this sounds like it could be a really interesting read. I love the idea of someone spontaneously beginning to levitate, and I love that that comes from grief. I think that this is going to explore a lot of really deep themes, and I think that the magical realism element in this could make it a very interesting read. I don't know that this will be a main pick, but it would be a really cool add-on for sure. From there, we're going to talk short story collections, and I have one selection this month. That's Buried Deep in Other Stories by Naomi Novik. This currently has a 4.17 and 185 ratings on Goodreads so far. This is a short story collection that moves from ancient Greece to Rome, through the Middle Ages and the Black Death, and into the modern era. We meet Mark Antony, Sherlock Holmes, and Elizabeth Bennet. We see them all in ways that we've never seen them before. We visit exotic fantasy cities and aliens among the stars. Though the stories are vastly vastly different, there is a unifying theme: the act of finding and seizing one's destiny and the lengths that one will go to achieve it. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Naomi Novik has previously been featured for Spinning Silver and Uprooted. She's a really well-loved author of the Timur series, the Scholomance series. Generally, her books do really well. Now, this short story collection might be kind of a long shot pick because she does include some short stories within this book from her Scholomance series, and that's not something that's been featured by Book of the Month before. But I think that fans of Novik would really support this as at least an add-on. I know I'd be really excited to see this in my Book of the Month box. And finally, we're going to talk nonfiction. I have one selection this month, and that's First in the Family by Jessica Hoppe. This currently has a 4.50 and 16 ratings on Goodreads so far. During the first year of quarantine, drug overdoses spiked, the highest ever recorded, and Hoppe's cousin was one of them. I never learned the true history of substance use disorder in my family, Hoppe writes. People just disappeared. At the time of her cousin's death, she'd been in recovery for 4 years, but she'd never told anyone. In First in the Family, Hoppe shares her journey, the first in her family to do so, and takes the reader on the remarkable investigation of her family's history, the American dream, and the erasure of POC from recovery institutions and narratives, leaving the reader with an urgent message of hope. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this is the type of memoir that I feel like they like to feature. It's thematically rich and emotionally deep, and it's going to talk about a lot of complex issues. I feel like this would be a really moving selection. So that is the end of my September 2024 Book of the Month predictions. As you can see, there were a lot of really great books to choose from. Hopefully Book of the Month will pick some of them. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know which of these picks are you most excited to read. Are any of these books that you think that Book of the Month should feature? Are there any that you're like, Caitlin, why did you even put this on this list? Tell me all of the things. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.